go mute, yeah.
So I think what we're gonna do on the just because of all the uproar, is from now on, we'll just put
Yes, ma'am.
Nice. Something's up.
Good evening. I'd like to call the Alton Board of Selectmen's meeting, January 25th, 2021, to order at 6 p.m. Until further notice, to keep our members and staff safe and to comply with RSA 91-A, the state of emergency and governor's orders, restrictions on public gatherings, the town of Alton has moved from in-person meetings to remote audio participation meetings. To remotely attend the meeting, audio only, visit our website, www.alton.nh.gov, for telephone access and remote access instructions listed under news and announcements on the home page, or telephone the Selectmen's office, 603-875-2113 or 603-875-0229 between 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. for the dial-in code and meeting ID for each Selectmen's meeting. Would you please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Gentlemen, at this time, I need an approval for the agenda as submitted.
Make a motion that we approve the agenda. Second.
Motion been made by Mr. McDonald to approve the agenda as submitted, second by Mr. Whitman. I'll open the floor for discussion. Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt? Yes. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. Deliberated session is scheduled for Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021, 6 p.m. at Prospect Mountain High School. Auditorium with the snow date of Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021. Submission of public comments, questions, and concerns. Mr. Robert Wright. I'll open that up and get to it. To the Board of Selectmen. Robert Wright. Representative Raymond Howard, Jr., Belknap County, District 8, Alton, Barnstable, and Gilmanton, took an oath of office as follows. I do solemnly swear that I will bear faith and true allegiance to the United States of America and the state of New Hampshire, and will support the Constitution thereof, so help me God. I do solemnly and sincerely swear and affirm I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all duties incumbent on me as state representative, according to the best of my abilities, agreeably to the rules and regulations of this Constitution, laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help me God. Meanwhile, as you probably know, Representative Howard has joined a group that has served the state of New Hampshire with the termination of office and termination of the state, a copy of which attached. Signers declare in the document they are absolved from all allegiance to the statutory state of New Hampshire and all political connection between citizens of the state of New Hampshire and the state ought to be totally dissolved. As a signatory to this document, Representative Howard has repudiated his oath of office, thereby disqualifying himself from serving. His repudiation of office, which is a requirement of office, constitutes in legal effect a resignation from the position of representative. Please schedule a special election so the voters of this district might choose a representative who would take and abide by the required oath of this office. I'd appreciate it if you would include this item in your agenda for your next meeting. In the packet from Mr. Wright, you will see, and also town administrator has notes in there. We, the people of the state of New Hampshire, public notice termination of office and termination of the state. If you read down through it, it's submitted to us. All the signatures that went on this from different folks, different representatives. David Scanlon, Deputy Secretary of State, did reply back to the town administrator. That is in your packet. And I'm going to stop there because Liz has had all this in the review, and I will let you tell her in her own words how she feels this should be going forward, and then we can talk. Liz?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I received the email from Mr. Wright, I reached out to our legal counsel, and he recommended that I contact the Secretary of State's office, which I did. You can see what my email to him and the response back. I had another discussion with him today, and he said it's ultimately up to the Board of Selectmen what you want to do. He said, you know, it's not, the question raised is not really a town issue, but it certainly is a political issue. And if you want to pursue this, that's your decision. One of the monkey wrenches in this would be that he represents more than one town. So there are other towns, you know, involved in this. So, you know, and then you can see Mr. Scanlon's response.
Now, has the other towns got the same stuff we got?
I don't know.
The one thing that comes to mind, I mean, I've been hearing about it for the last 2 weeks. I'm sure some of you have, or read it in the Daily Sun or the Granite Stater. I believe a phone call from our town administrator to Mr. Howard should go out, because he does represent the citizens of this community, which we represent the citizens of this community as the governing board, to find out if this is true, that he did sign it, that is his signature, and find out if he really does believe that he doesn't have to follow the oath that he took representing the people. Because if that is his feeling, and I really don't want this to become political, because we don't sit here as Republicans and Democrats, we sit here as fellow citizens doing the town's business. This has turned into a political deal between Democrats and Republicans, and I do not want to get into that. But if this is true, how Mr. Howard feels, if this is true, then he should resign, I guess. But if this is not his signature and he does not feel this way, then he should come out and say that. But I haven't heard no response from Mr. Howard on any of this. So that's what I would like to see. I don't know how you gentlemen feel.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I
sir.
have a response from Mr. Howard, if you'd like to hear it,
Or,
for what's been flying around politically.
well, and then it really should have been submitted before the meeting.
I just got it today.
Well, I know, but then it'll have to be submitted next week. That's the way I feel, because that's what Mr. Wright did. That's what everybody's always done. They submitted it that week.
Okay.
I feel, it's up to the rest of the board. That's only my feelings. It's up to the rest of the board.
Listen to it now, can we end it?
I don't think it's gonna be ended. That's all right. It's up to you guys.
If you read this, it's a legal question too.
Right, exactly. I don't think it would be objectionable if we listen to it now. We have other information. Yes, it was prepared ahead of time, but I would have no objection to listening to what Mr. Howard had to say.
I don't have any problem, but I'd like to have a copy of it.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a copy for everybody here. Pass them down.
Oh, good. No, you know,
You have one for the town administrator too, for the record?
Yeah, I've got one. I'll have to make another copy. Yeah, so it'll be on the record. But I'll read it out loud. To the people and the selectmen of the town of Alton, I took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution. It is the compact with the people and dictates how I am to govern for the people. Part First, Article 11, Elections and Elective Franchises, spells out that election process. If the people would like to change that process, Part Second, Article 100, spells out how that is accomplished. House Bill 1266, that was passed last year, changed the constitutional process for absentee balloting without being done through the Part Second, Article 100 requirements. This is a violation of Part Second, Article 5. Therefore, the last election cycle is null and void under Part Second, Article 90. Therefore, my actions have been to protect and defend the Constitution under Part First, Article 10 and 32. I ask the members of this board, aren't you denying me my constitutional right under Part First, Article 15, right of accused, by not asking me to be at your board meeting tonight? Respectfully submitted, Representative Raymond Howard. I also have a letter signed by about 300 people that's going to be going out to every elected official in our state, apparently. Would you guys like copies of that?
I'd like copies of that. I'd like to respond to Mr. Howard's letter, though. A letter came forward to us tonight from Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright is not going to be able to talk tonight. We only read his letter into the record, as we have done in the past with other people's record for public participation. And like I said earlier, I feel we should have the town administrator call Mr. Howard, set up a time with us to discuss this with us. Not saying he's guilty, I just said, if that is his signature on there, and if he did believe this way, and he's throwing out a lot of articles tonight in his letter, expecting us to know which article it is, which I'd have to have Liz give to that, but if they feel this way about this article, why aren't they suing the state of New Hampshire over it, instead of disavowing themselves from the Constitution?
Right.
That's the way they feel, but I had no qualms in letting him come before us and let us know why he signed this and how he signed this. Somebody submitted a letter of his actions, which I take pretty seriously if that is his signature. I do feel he has the right to represent himself, but it won't be tonight, it'll be at next Monday night's meeting.
That's fine by me.
If he sent in a letter to meet with the Board of Selectmen to defend himself.
We getting into a political hornet's nest.
We are.
Yeah.
Most definitely we are.
There's no place for us.
It really isn't.
It's a state issue.
It's a state issue, not us.
It really isn't.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel, and that's the way legal counsel has said. We had a citizen write before us a letter, which gave us public input. We had to do that. Mr. Howard also has a right to
Defend himself.
defend himself. I have no problem with that. Unfortunately, I feel there's certain people that want to get the Board of Selectmen involved in different communities to try to take action. And like you said, I feel it's a state issue. They should be going before the state.
I agree with that,
I believe
too.
that as well.
So what exactly does Mr. Howard have to do to be able to be online with us next week?
Submit a request for appointment.
If he so wishes.
If he wishes, yes.
For a scheduled appointment, that takes several weeks. If it's just to respond to what you read into the record tonight, it could be done under submission of public comments, questions, and concerns. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because if he comes in, it would be a couple weeks before you can get in here, right?
Yes, yeah, it would be a few, because you would have to approve his form at the next meeting, and then after that, he would be scheduled for whenever he would be available.
Unless the Board of Selectmen stated tonight, as long as he got his request in by Wednesday pertaining just to this issue, they could agree to give him,
You could do an approval ahead of time.
do approval ahead of time, 10 minutes, so it could be on next Monday night's meeting.
Next Monday night, yeah. I agree with that.
So, and I would assume that Mr. Wright would also be included in that. if
Not
he
in
wanted to.
discussion, no. No, Mr. Wright gave us everything here that we got. I don't want it going back and forth between Mr. Howard and Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright sent us this stuff here. He gave us all the information, all the letters and everything else. What he's asked and be done, Mr. Howard has a right, I feel, to come in, defend himself on these actions. This letter to me, does not really defend his actions. And I just feel he needs verbally to tell the Board of Selectmen how he feels. And that's a request I'm giving.
Okay.
Unless he wants to give me a longer letter of it, because I don't understand all that he's talking about.
Well, there's a lot in there that's
I'm not a lawyer,
Well, so,
nor do I believe Mr. Howard.
Article 100, and Article 5.
I have to go by
Those.
what I can get from legal counsel.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
That sound fine with you, gentlemen?
Yes.
As long as he has it in by Wednesday morning, request to meet with us
Next Monday night.
Monday night, underneath request for appointments.
Yes.
I honestly think we're going to be seeing more and more of this. Politics, people wanting to come before us to discuss. In this case, I agree with you. This is a state issue. We're talking 3 towns, not 1 town, okay?
Right.
But on the same token, it's getting nasty out there. Believe me, it's getting nasty out there. And it's going to continue to get. They're going to try to drag us into it. I want you to know that.
Well, that's one thing nice about being a small town versus a city. We don't have to have a charter. We don't have to declare parties. And I would say at this point, as long as the people that are writing in these letters and the state reps on the other side of the letters understand that, because I hold really no party affiliation to either side. I'm more of an independent. I don't want to have to get in siding parties, because they'll never get me to the side party. And I don't want to see it become that. That's the
Well, it's interesting you say that, because both times that I ran for selectman, I was never asked, except once, what party I was in, ever, when I was like campaigning.
I was too, once.
Yeah.
And it
I was
really-
asked, young woman, I was asked one time.
And it really shouldn't matter, but the consensus of the board, as long as he has it in by Wednesday morning.
But, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think someone should make a motion to waive the current rules in regards to discretionary action requests.
Well, okay.
Let me ask you this, if we do that, are we opening up another hornet's nest
For possible future.
down the road?
I don't know.
Well, unless you want to see this in the papers for another month, put it off and let them go through the process. If you want to get it done and put it to bed, have them come before the meeting.
Get it done.
Well, I don't think it'll put it to bed.
It's not gonna put it to bed,
But
but
it'll
at
put
least
it to
it'll
bed.
get it out in the open for him.
But it will be put to bed for the board of selectmen.
That's correct.
Selectmen.
Yeah.
We would be out of it after that.
All right.
Monday night would be our
Well, I hope.
end of it for us.
If the state finds him in violation, then that's an issue.
Yes.
That's not an issue
Do
for
you
us.
feel that way?
Yeah.
I do.
I do, definitely.
So just so I'm clear, what has to happen for him to be able to address us?
I need a motion to waive the requirements of the request for appointments for Mr. Howard for next week, as long as he has it in by Wednesday morning for the agenda to be published on Thursday next week. I believe that's what you're asking for.
All right, I'll second that. But, all right, I'll make a motion to waive the discretionary action, request for appointments on the agenda, and to have Ray have all the paperwork he needs in by Wednesday, Mr. Howard, to have it on the agenda for Monday night,
To meet with us, yes.
to meet with us.
I'll second.
Motion made by Virgil McDonald to waive the additional action requirements and requests for appointments for Mr. Raymond State Representative Raymond Howard. Next Monday night's meeting, as long as it is in by Wednesday morning of this week, which would be 1/27, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yes.
1/27.
1/27.
Second by Mr. Whitman. Discussion. Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Shell?
Yes.
Mr. Holt? Yes. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative.
Phil, all he has to do is fill out one of the forms that we have for appointments. He can get it on the website, he can call the selectman's office.
Okay.
I want to thank Mr. Wright for his concern in writing in what he did tonight, and hopefully next week we can put it to rest, or if not, we can carry it on with the state of New Hampshire. Moving on to new business, solid waste, skid steer replacement. Mr. Simon sent a letter in the agenda, gentlemen, requesting to replace the skid steer that he presently has up there. He has a quote from Bobcat, $67,460 with no trade-in. That includes buckets and forks for attachments. We're keeping the snowplow and the sweeper. I recommend taking $16,903.80 out of the CRF, solid waste equipment, and remaining $50,556.20 out of the recycling revolving account. I asked Mr. Roberts earlier this week if that would be anything they would be interested in the highway department, and he said no.
Interested in that.
We have Scotty on the phone, because I was wondering why we're getting new Fox too.
Yeah.
I mean, if we had to, wear
Yeah,
else?
Mr. Simon's on the
A
phone.
new Fox?
Fox coming with it.
I don't think he wanted a new Fox.
Yeah.
Oh, it does include the bucket and Fox for attachments.
Yeah.
It does include it, never mind.
Yep.
Mr. Simons, are you there?
Plug them in, don't we, over here?
Mr.
No.
Simons?
Josh is doing it remotely.
Hi, Scott? Scott, let me know when you're there.
You hear me now?
I can hear you now. Thank you, sir.
I'm having a little problems with it.
Okay. Mr. McDonald has a question for you.
Why you?
Yes.
The bucket and Fox we got are no good?
No, the bucket's rotten out from salt and sand, and the forks are worn bad.
Did you get a trade-in value on the, skid steer, because you said at the time Bobcat hadn't gotten back to you.
Yes, they gave me a trade-in value of 16,000. Now, that 16,000, that's a little less than half of what we paid for it back in 2003. So that's a pretty good trade-in value to me.
You mean to tell me that that's gone up almost $30,000 for the same machine?
In the last 17 years.
Okay.
Now, this machine's it's a little bit bigger than the one we currently have.
Okay. Did you go out and get 3 other prices?
No, I didn't. Bobcat's the only skid steer machine, all-wheel steer.
Gentlemen, any other questions for Mr. Simon?
We have a letter this evening from the town mechanic
Mm-hmm.
that recommends, trading it in also.
He does.
Yeah.
And the hydraulics?
Yeah.
The hydraulics are getting weak.
Yep. And no other department has shown any interest in town. Kenny didn't, I know that.
So
It's too big for the sidewalks.
usually if your hydraulics are going, you're starting to lose power, it's,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
time to either
it's starting to
rebuild
rebuild.
the whole thing.
Well, we got the life out of it that we should have.
Oh, definitely.
Done its work.
That's something that's worked
So gentlemen,
basis.
2 things have to happen here when you make a motion. One you have to waive the, policy of not buying anything over $5,000. And then 2 is the other part of that motion has to include the prices. 7 or 16.
What was the trade-in value, 16 even?
16,000.
16.
16,000.
That's what I thought he said.
So that brings it to $51,460 with trade-in.
That's what the motion has to read. You're giving authorization to trade it in.
51,000?
51,460.
$51,460.
Yeah, this section.
Waiver section would be 9.3.15.
There's only one Bobcat
Read the
dealer.
motion says would make it easier for you guys.
Yeah. I'm trying to find something in here to follow by it to do
All
it.
right, gentlemen, I make a motion to allow the solid waste director to go out and purchase a new skid steer from Bobcat, amount of $51,460 with trade of the old one. Money to be taken out would be $16,903.80 out of the CRS solid waste equipment, and the remaining $50,000, excuse me, this isn't quite right.
Be a different figure.
It would be a different figure. You gotta take 16,000 off the 50, right?
I'm just gonna call that 16,904. 2, 6, 5, 4.
We just don't take 903 out of the
I
CRF.
don't think there's enough money in the,
Oh, all right.
I'm doing 904. With a trade-in of 16,904 with a balance of 34,562 coming out of the recycling revolving account. And also to waive the section of purchase, anything over $5,000 under section 9.3.15. Motion made by Reuben Wentworth, second by Mr. McDonald. Discussion.
I only have one question. This is out of my realm of expertise, but would different dealers have different prices for the same?
Well, the problem you got is you need the all-wheel drive. Bobcat's one of the only ones that
Makes it that way.
Yeah, I know that, but
There's only
dealers, I mean, how many dealers are
There's
there?
only one
New
Bobcat.
Hampshire, from New Hampshire.
Okay,
We'd have to go to Massachusetts.
Okay.
Hampshire Bobcat, that's.
okay. So we didn't need the free prices?
We didn't need,
You can't get them.
Mr. Simons, anything else that you need to add to this before we vote?
Nope, that's it.
Motion made by, I'll call the motion to the floor. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, votes in the affirmative. Thank you, Mr. Simons. Uh-oh.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Stu, thought you wanted to add something there, and I didn't.
Take care.
Request for appointment Deputy Town Treasurer Donna L. Grant. In your package, gentlemen, you'll see a letter requesting to have a Deputy Town Treasurer from Gene Stone for Donna L. Grant. If you gentlemen are inclined to do this, I need a motion and a second.
Letter in here from Gene.
Yes. Gene is the one that's requesting it.
Right. Gene. No, Mrs. Grant. Make a motion that we hire Donna L. Grant for the deputy treasury position.
Can I have you change your motion?
Yes.
To appoint Deputy Town Treasurer, to appoint Donna L. Grant as Deputy Town Treasurer.
And I make a motion that we appoint Donna Grant as deputy town treasurer.
I'll second.
Motion made by Virgil McDonald to approve appointing Donna L. Grant as Deputy Town Treasurer, second by Paula Rochelle. Discussion. Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Wentworth, yes, vote to the affirmative. Number 3, a special event application, ABA Winter Carnival. In your packet, you'll see the application from ABA, what they're wanting to do with the ice sculpture. They're going to have only a couple of things down there. It's not calling for, they're not calling for a big crowd. They also have all the letters from the emergency management team, police chief, fire chief, Mr. Devers, and Kelly Trundle. Seeing no problems with it as long as they follow the guidelines that are set forth at that time of winter carnival. If you gentlemen don't see any problem in this, I will entertain a motion to approve it, unless you want to have Christy Pacho come online and talk to you about it.
I'll make a motion to approve the special event for Alton Bay Winter Carnival.
I'll second it.
Motion been made by Paul Rochelle to approve the request from the Alton Business Association for the winter carnival, second by Mr. Whitman.
Plus it's outside, which is a good thing, so.
Open up the discussion. McDonald just had his discussion. I'll hold the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote to the affirmative. Christie, you have your approval for the ABA. Next on the agenda, gentlemen, town report approvals. In your packet, you'll see they're looking for what the cover should look like. My thoughts, gentlemen, are the Alton Bay Town of Alton, New Hampshire Annual Town Report 2020 picture.
Which one?
Number 3.
Number 3, thank you.
3? Yes, sir.
I was looking at number 4.
I like number 4 and number 3.
Yeah, either or.
I mean, it goes to 3 and 4, as far as I'm concerned. I actually like 3 a little better, because 4 needs some work.
That was my
Railing, the railing needs some work.
rustic.
Pretty good in the picture.
Well, that was one of the things I pointed out to the
Yeah.
Parks and Recreation. A lot of the balusters were rotted and the railings were rotted.
Had a little more color to it than just the gray winter scene we have
Right.
right now out there. I'd probably go along with it.
I would have to say number 3 then.
All we need is a consensus. We don't need a motion on it, so I'll pull the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
I'll go with 4.
Well,
Just to be
yes.
sure.
Consensus was to go with number 3.
Okay.
All right, next on the gentleman is the dedication. Town administrator and the employees have asked that we dedicate this year's town report to Russell Ernest Jones and his wife Gwendolyn Jones, both of who, one was an employee, selectman, budget committee member, also, and fire chief, and also Gwendolyn Jones, who was our tax collector for many, many years. which
Good people.
passed away shortly thereafter, Mr. Chief Jones. I have no problem with this, and I think it's quite an honor
Yes,
to be able to vote for this.
absolutely.
Good family.
Definitely. So the board is to approve it?
Yes.
Yes, the board is to approve it. Administrator. Old business, fire department ladder truck. In your binder, you'll have a letter from the chief, which he wants to come on in Zoom tonight, so we can see him in person. He's got a letter in there. Mr. Lachelle came to me earlier, about 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, said he found a site about, used ladder trucks. How did I feel on it? I really don't have a problem with brand new or used, as long as we're gonna get the monies that we're gonna put into it out of it.
Mhm.
That's my main concern. I got his letter, they've been online, they've reviewed everything, the pictures and everything. Cost of the truck is $75,000, also will need an additional $15,000 for lettering, radios, and unforeseen repairs or updates. So, I have no problem with that, but I'd like to bring the chief on, find out where this is located at, and see if it's even feasible to send a mechanic along with the chief to go down and look at it. Instead of staying out, basically you're staying $90,000 and all by the time all's said and done.
Mhm. Yep.
And have it last 1 year, 2 years. He's saying it could get us
5 years out of
But
it.
even 12,000 for 5 year, more than that, 5 years in the 90, you're looking at 12, 13, 14,000. I'd just like to see us get a little more than 5 years out of spending close to $90,000, that's all.
Mhm.
But that's up to you, gentlemen. If you'd like to bring the chief on now, we can have him talk to us.
There he is.
Hi, chief.
Hello,
How you doing?
good evening. As you saw in the letter, this truck is actually fairly immaculate, for the age and the price. It's 22 years old, which is, that's the first thing that worries you. We have been through the truck through a Zoom meeting with them. They've sent us several pictures of the truck, and there's really no rust on it that we can see. The thing looks immaculate. It has 18,000 miles on it and somewhere around, I believe, 9,000 hours. I mean, it's the truck hasn't been the truck has not been used very aggressively. It's with a department that does a low amount of calls, and they have an incredible maintenance budget. That's for sure. Just one example, it was in that letter. They replaced the hydraulic pump, which is somewhere around $5,000, and they already had a new truck on order. Their maintenance budget actually comes from the county; it doesn't come from them, so they've been able to keep the truck up so well. As far as more than 5 years, you're talking getting into 27, 28-year-old truck. That starts to get you a little bit nervous. I think it would last, but I can't guarantee.
What about the dent on the rung of the ladder? Is that
So
cause a problem?
it passed the ladder inspection with it, and we got a picture of the actual dent, and it's more on there's a piece of rubber that covers the top of that, and it's more the rubber has a dent in it than the actual rung. So the ladder inspection on the very top rung, they said it's no problem at all.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Chief, is this, did you find this on a website that you and I had once discussed?
This was actually on a different website. I believe it was, I don't know the name of, Pat is on as well. He might remember the name of the website. I do not remember the name of the website.
Mhm.
There's 3 or 4 different sites out there, and this one actually was forwarded to me by someone else.
So this truck, this truck was actually on the Fire Tech website. And this is just basic searches that we do, kind of all the time, just to try and stay on top of things, and realize what's out in the market. Again, the time span of replacing a new truck, we're just trying to fill that gap. So we were just looking for contenders for that, and of course with your support. So we came across this vehicle, and as the chief said, it's very, very clean. 18,000 miles, even for a fire truck. That is not a lot.
No.
So this will be a very good opportunity. And we did have a chance, I'm sure he mentioned, and I saw it in the letter. We did have a Zoom meeting with them where he brought us through basically every aspect of this thing. And it's really kind of kind of what you would think of as kind of like a barn find. It hasn't been used a whole lot, but it's been maintained to the T. So this is it's definitely a good opportunity for sure.
Is this one any issue of actually fitting in the bay of the firehouse?
So this one is not, and I get confused, and I want to just state this for the record, on town video. The fire department would never even consider purchasing a truck that doesn't fit into a building that we own.
Right.
There was a lot of talk about that the last time, we had put out in, that on the warrant, that we were buying a truck that wouldn't fit in the building. We would never even consider doing such a thing. This truck.
No, I didn't think.
This truck.
The chief and I had talked about that. He clarified a question that I had on it, whether it had the dual rear wheels or not, and the length of the truck, whether it would fit into the firehouse or not. One of the ones I had suggested, looked at, was in fact too long, because I wasn't aware just quite how long it was.
Right. And it's not necessarily the dual wheels that usually puts it out for us. It's the 100-foot aerial device that usually makes it more challenging. So this is still a 75-footer, so it's what we had before. It definitely has its challenge spots, but that just means on our end that we got to train more and work on placement.
Good.
Can I ask where it's located, Chief, or Pat?
This is located in Pennsylvania. It is 8 hours away. It is quite possible that we could take a ride out and take a look at it, and we had planned on doing that kind of simultaneously if this was approved, essentially. So we're only making one trip. We could go out, inspect it, operate it, drive it around, make sure it's everything that we want. But full disclosure that if we find any issues, then we could be driving home without it.
Right.
Are you gonna take the town mechanic with you?
Yeah, absolutely. If we can
if
get him
that's
to
available.
come along.
I definitely recommend the town mechanic.
Definitely go, yes.
To go along.
Yep.
Pat and Chief, if you purchase this, is this something you're gonna have transported up, or you're gonna drive it up?
The plan would be to go down, inspect it, and then drive it back.
Okay. And you'll have plates from New Hampshire, 20-day plates or something like that, or what?
Yeah.
We'll have to
work
work
ahead of time. We'll have to work on the purchase and sales and get temporary plates.
Okay.
So that would leave you a little over $503,000 left in that account if you get this with the radios and everything else you need to do, correct?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think we'll need all of that. It's just having that buffer. Hopefully we plan on using the radios we already have and having the company move them from the old ladder truck to the new ladder truck. And then the lettering has to get done.
Okay, gentlemen, any other questions?
Yeah. What are we gonna do with the other ladder truck when this one comes? So we know what we're doing with it instead of having it sit outside.
What's your plans on the ladder truck recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, Chief?
My recommendation with that would be to send it out and have it scrapped. It doesn't start, doesn't run. It doesn't pass any pump tests, any ladder tests. It's decommissioned as far as being fire apparatus. We can try to throw it out. I know the White Farm won't take it if it doesn't run. We can try to put it on municipal bid to see if somebody would want it, but they're going to have to be able to get it out of there. But it would really be which way you guys want to go. Those are really the options.
What did we lose, a bearing in the motor or something? That it won't start?
We don't know. It started when we parked it. I know the town mechanic's been up a couple times to work on it, and he has not been able to get it to run.
At this point, I think municipal bid's probably a good option. If we want to make a decision at this meeting, we can probably get a salvage company to make a bid on it through that. Just to make things clean and so that way we don't have to come back for another meeting if you folks decide on a reserve amount. We can just go forward with the sale with general consent after the fact.
You have everything off the truck that you needed to salvage for yourself, for your department?
We have a few things we would take off of it, some adapters and stuff like that, but for the most part, everything important is off of it.
Okay, so gentlemen, you have two issues before you. What to do with the old one, put it on a municipal bid, if you want to put a minimum on it. If you want a bid to come in, and also to make a motion to approve the use of $75,000 out of this fire department capital reserve fund.
You want to approve that after, I mean,
I want two separate motions, yes.
yeah, but I mean, the total amount paying for the new truck, that's after the town mechanic sees it.
Actually,
Well, I was gonna make it
it's gonna be three
contingent.
motions. Yeah, actually, now that you reminded me, you have to make a motion to allow travel, go out of state, bring the town mechanic, it's gonna be an 8-hour drive down. You're gonna have 2 to 3 hours just looking at this 11 hours. You're gonna have to authorize for overnight.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the chief to purchase a 1999 75-foot quint ladder truck, the $75,000, contingent upon town mechanic review of looking at the truck, and going out of state to purchase and bring back, right, a truck, the fire truck, ladder truck, back to New Hampshire. And the third one?
Third one would be to, put the old ladder truck out to bid.
And to put the old ladder truck out to bid, to see what we can get for the old ladder truck that's not running. That's my motion.
Second. I have a second by Virgil McDonald. Discussion. Chief, and Pat, how many would be needed to go down to look at this truck? Would it be yourself and Pat and the mechanic?
I would recommend an additional person to have two people able to switch back and forth with drivers just because of the length of time.
So you need 3 to go down in all then, correct?
I think that could do.
Well, you'd have to have 1 drive down, 3 will have to drive down in one vehicle and 2 drive back in the truck and 1 in the other car, right?
Well, as long as we have 2 drivers for the truck so they can swap off, it's just a long ride.
4 people.
Driving the car is fine with one person. It
I
doesn't,
would hope, I would hope you could do an 8-hour drive.
yeah,
Only because I used to drive over the road and I still go back and forth to Missouri by myself, and 8 hours is nothing for driving. That's basically, at least I feel that way, and we're giving you the overnight, so I could at least say 3.
yeah, that's where I'm at, 3.
4 hours is enough for me.
No, I don't believe it'd be cheaper to ship it. Not with the way the trucking fees are today and coming up out of Pennsylvania, because you probably end up having to have a wide load or over length load permit.
Well, then the only other thing, if I could throw it on the table for you folks, is the only person that might be on overtime would be the town mechanic. The rest of the people would just be on call. So that would just regular call pay.
Oh, thanks for that, Pat. We appreciate that.
No worries.
Give them a new
Are you at
ladder
your
truck
new
and they want
position?
paid tow?
Are you
What's that?
down-
I'm
down-
sorry.
You down at the station tonight?
I am not at the fire station. Nope.
I didn't think so, but it's nice to have you out of your trailer.
Yes, absolutely. For sure.
Motion is made by Mr. Rochelle, second by Mr. McDonald. Any further discussion?
I just have one further question.
Yes, Mr. Holt.
How are you gonna get that, fire truck back again with registration, plates?
Temporary plates.
Yeah, plan on getting a temporary, working with the state on a temporary plate.
Temporary plate?
Yeah,
Plan A plate.
Well, it's not,
Insurance company too,
we
correct?
gotta get insurance.
yep. Once we have the VIN number, we'll call back to town and have them insure it.
Obviously, that has to be done.
Okay. And, no, one other thing, there'll be an overnight?
It will be an overnight.
Okay, good. Yeah, I don't want them driving 16 hours.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a long day.
Yeah.
Yeah. it'd be a
Now,
little-
Chief,
Anything else? Hold on. Anything else, Bob?
No.
Nothing.
Chief, when this truck comes back, do we have to have it re-inspected? Where it's inspected out of another state?
Yeah, it'll have to have a state inspection.
Are we gonna
with
make
the-
this?
With the current registration.
Are we gonna make this purchase on our contingency of passing that inspection?
Our mechanic should be able to pass it.
Yeah, with the mechanic coming down there, he'll be able to help with that too.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All right, so Chief, before you left, we would like to at least have the town administrator be known that all the paperwork is where it has to be, just in case you do purchase it.
Yep.
So the select can also be made aware of it. So a motion is made by Paul Rochelle to allow the chief, along with two others, one being the town mechanic, to go to Pennsylvania and purchase a 1999 75-foot Quint fire, ladder truck for the cost of $75,000 out of the Fire Equipment Capital Reserve Fund. And also to allow the chief to put out the old ladder truck for bid. Is that correct?
Correct.
Second by Ms. McDonald. Any further discussion?
I do have one question on this.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you need to make it in your motion. Do you want a reserve on the bid for municipal bid, a minimum?
Well, it'd be nice to go in there with something, because otherwise someone's just gonna bid $1 or $10, correct?
I agree.
Is it worth having Nash or somebody get out and look at that truck?
I can't see hiring someone. Maybe your mechanic, between the town mechanic and yourselves, you could come up with a price?
Yeah, we can work on that.
Right.
Do you want us to bring that back to you before we put it up?
I think they can put it up themselves, don't you?
Yeah.
Or do you wanna approve it?
No, get it, but, yeah, no, they can put it up.
Fine.
Yeah, the thing's basically.
Virgil, just a bit of follow-up for you. So Dave Nash has actually already looked at the truck, and he said without devoting a significant amount of time into the issue,
Okay.
he won't be able to, give us a straight answer on it. And then as far as a minimum bid, I would say probably 1,000 is a pretty fair number. Just based on scrap value, it should bring that. But again, that would be up to
Better up
yourself.
that. Better up that. I just took a hell of a jump.
Any other discussion, gentlemen? I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes, but are we putting a bid price on it
Bid price what?
for the,
For the use.
Minimum?
old truck, the old
We're
truck?
gonna leave it up to them.
Oh, okay. All right. Yep.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. Good luck, Chief and Pat.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you, guys.
Gentlemen, moving on, next will be Highway Department RFP Engineering Church Street and School Street. As you see right there in the letter, the highway manager recommends KB Partners amount of $30,100 for School Street and Church Streets preliminary design. Highway manager is requesting from the Board of Selectmen authorization to negotiate with KB Partner Construction Administration in construction observations of School Street and Church Street. The new dollar figure will go back to the Board of Selectmen for approval. Talking to Mr. Roberts over this, the final aspect of it, Church Street was included, but School Street wasn't, but I'll let him come on and let you know why he wants to do what he wants to do. Mr. Roberts?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
All right, if you can go ahead and explain to the gentleman what you explained to me that day we talked about this, that would be great, because you could probably do it better.
Okay, the agreement with Kevin Leonard, who is one of the town engineers, and myself is for KV Partners. We want to do the amount of $30,100 for the preliminary design, final design, and bid. On the second sheet, there was some confusion, and I need to address that confusion with KV Partners and just see where that second part of that stands without saying too much. And just as long as you give me permission to negotiate with them to see where that is.
That's on the bid sheet, Kenny?
Yeah, it's the second page where it says construction services.
Yeah.
Actually,
And at the very,
wait a minute, hold on, Ken, I gotta show him where it's at, because it's not right off second page. No. All the way to the,
oh, I'm sorry.
oh, that's all right, it wasn't quite put that way in our binder.
All the way in the end.
Yeah, and I was leaving that blank because I think, without talking to him, I'm not sure, but I think there was, on the total, the other street wasn't added in, and I just want to make sure we're confirming that that is the price for that, or it may be a price separately. That's what I need to find out. That's the only thing, that's why we didn't award that portion of it.
Not seeing it.
Okay, wait a minute. Section 5, it says construction.
Yeah, it's under section 5, fee schedule, construction services.
Yeah, 5 to 5.
As you see, the description at the bottom of the first block, it mentions only one street. I think it's supposed to mention both, but I have to confirm that. And even if it doesn't, if those are the prices on each street, that's still a recommendation. But I want to make sure that I need to talk to them to make sure we're on the same page.
Find it, Bill?
No.
Yeah, I got it.
It's way in effect.
Section 5.
Kenny, on their bid papers, where you got all the bid prices, it says plus
Yes.
hourly, it says plus hourly engineering services. Is that above and beyond the 30,000?
No, that should be on the fee schedule, what they have on the labor category.
Talking about, he's right here.
Okay, thanks.
Find it, Bob?
Oh, yeah, I found it a long time ago.
Yeah, but 30,000 is to draw everything up. Are we gonna be charged
Preliminary-
hourly? Joe?
No, there's a preliminary design. You have a cost for that for each road. It says preliminary design, final design, and then bidding services. Then actually what their mileage coming in and out and their reproduction cost would be to put all that out. The total cost of that 3-phase section is that amount. And the same
9,400.
thing. No, we're looking at the first page you asked me about. That's 18,600, and then the second one was Church Street
Right.
at 11,500. Those are the ones that we're awarding tonight. I would like
Okay.
to talk to them about the second page because it's unclear.
Okay, it's unclear on the construction services and unclear on the lump sum cost?
Yeah, I'm not, well, basically, it's, you know, it says right there, construction administration, what they listed, construction observations is listed, total professional service, mileage and reproduction, that's a total cost. For some reason, I think there's a street missing here, and it may just be a clerical error.
He feels it could be a clerical error, but he wants to make sure.
Could be, because it just says Church Street.
Right. I need to verify that, and I would like that, just an okay from the board to allow me to contact the services and then come back with a number.
Well, it does, that should be. I think that's for both roads.
But it should say the other road as well. But he wants to
Should we
clarify
allow Kenny to go to KV Partners,
to make sure it's school
negotiate
street.
this and make sure that everything's clear?
Well, two is, one way you can do it is award it to KV Partners contingent upon Mr. Roberts working it out on the, second page.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That just came from town administrator. Does that sound fine with you, Mr. Roberts?
Yeah, in either case, even if that number changes, it's still a recommendation because they are low bidders.
This also comes back to the board for approval anyways.
Yes.
I'll second it.
That's quite the difference in bid prices. I can't believe that.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable, some of them.
Quite a difference.
All right, so do I have a motion to award this bid?
I make a motion that we allow KV Partners to do School Street and Church Street, with Kenny being able to negotiate with them.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. McDonald to award Church Street construction project KV Partners, the amount of $39,000 plus hourly engineering services, and also Mr. Roberts to negotiate with them on page 2. Another question, seconded by Mr. Rochelle. Discussion, a contingent upon negotiation with Mr. Roberts. I have a second from Paul Rochelle, discussion.
Yes, when we're setting this all up for those two streets, are we gonna try to get grants or anything from the state for the water to redo the mains? I mean, they're giving them to different towns around the state. They just gave Berlin got 36 million.
Well, that'd be one way for
I
a
think,
superintendent to look into, but I think those grants are usually all over a year out.
well, I think that we've gotta get it started to get this going so we have it.
Okay, so after this motion, once we vote on it, you make another motion as the superintendent, and Town administrator work to get water superintendent, town administrator work on getting hold of the state, see if there's any money available to replace these water mains.
Well, to help us.
Yeah. Is anything else?
I mean, to me, they've taken all that money from Irvin's up there, and they're holding it, and we need help in this town, and the money came from this town, it should be brought back in.
Okay. Mr. Holt, you had your hand up?
Yeah, Virgil brought it up earlier, the plus hourly engineering service. I'm a little confused with that.
Well, after they go through and they make all these designs, like they come back in and all of a sudden don't like something, they have a right to charge us on an hourly rate. So they're letting you know what their hourly rate is in case they have to go above and beyond the scope of what you're awarding the bid at. Am I correct with that, Mr. Roberts?
I don't know, I'm looking at the task, and there's a base price on the task. I guess I'm missing where you're saying there's extra charges here.
It's on the bid page. The following sealed bids were opened in the Town Hall, Monument Square. It's on that page, because nobody else that bid has the hourly rate except KV Partners. It says $39,000 plus hourly services.
Okay, I hate to say this, but that's not a document that came to me. The only document I got was School Street Design and what the exact price was, Church Street Design, exact price. And then the construction services exact price, just a question on the description. And then after that, it says lump sum costs are based on the following hourly rates. Those are the lump sum costs based on hourly rates.
Can we check on this to see what this plus hourly rate's about? Plus hourly?
I guess my question is, I would like somebody to send it to me because I don't have it in the bid documents that I received.
Okay.
Okay.
One is, we can approve this contingent upon.
Yes.
Mr. Roberts negotiated, they're coming back and we giving the final approval. That was in his letter, if I'm not mistaken, right, Mr. Roberts?
Yeah, the final approval would be on the construction administration and observations, but I will discuss with them that portion when I see it.
I will have the town administrator get this right out to you, or Laura, we'll get this right out to you tomorrow morning. You want to hold on to this one more week, gentlemen, until we award the bid then? Would you feel more comfortable with that? Well,
No, I think we're fine.
No, I think.
town administrator, you just said something.
That I think you should, but it's up to the board, whatever you want.
Well, I got
Vice of the department head thinks we should. But Mr. Roberts does need authorization to go and talk with KV Partners.
Let's give him the authorization for that then at least, and then wait for.
Withdraw your motion, Mr. McDonald?
Yes, I withdraw my motion.
Rescind your second?
Yes.
I need a new motion to allow Mr. Roberts to talk to KV Partners and negotiate with them for the Church Street and School Street design.
Make a motion to have Mr. Roberts approved to speak with and work with the KV Partners LLC engineering.
Second.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Rochelle and seconded by Mr. McDonald. Discussion. Mr. Holt?
Yes, as long as we can approve that plus hourly engineering service, what's that?
That's what he'll do.
And, we have some other bids here that they may have that included in it, I don't know.
Well, we're not awarding the bid. They were the low bid of this. He's recommending these folks here, but he's asking permission let him to go and talk to them.
Just giving him permission
Can't
to talk to
them.
them.
Do we give?
Yeah, but I'd like clarification.
Yes.
And he'll get back
I think
to
he'll
us.
be able to clarify it.
He'll get all that for us.
Town administrator or Laura will get him the front page that they presented to us tonight with the breakdown of all the bids. I was surprised he didn't have that, but, he'll have that tomorrow morning, and then next Monday night, he'll come back to us. Is that fine with you, gentlemen?
Yeah, okay.
All right, motion been made by Paul Rochelle, seconded by Mr. McDonald. Any further discussion? Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yep, yes.
Mr. Holt? Yes. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth? Yes. Mr. McDonald, at this time here, you brought up about the water lines.
Yes.
Would you like to have the consensus of the board to have the town administrator and the water superintendent look for grant money out there to help with replacing those water mains?
Yes, I think we should get a hold of the state. I mean, the guy that came in front of us said he'd help us when we were ready to get us help with whatever we needed.
Okay. Mr. Whitman, you feel good with that?
Yeah, yeah.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Oh, most definitely.
Yes. Town administrator, could you get a hold of the water superintendent? And the two of you work together, possibly finding some money to help with the new water main expenses on Church Street and School Street.
I will.
Thank you very much. Moving on, number 3, budget discussion. You gentlemen realized last week I asked you to come back with the recommendations. You saw where the town administrator, Laura, came up with the reduction. Mr. Roberts, thank you. Sorry to hold you up there.
Yes, sir, thank you very much.
Thank you. The bottom baseline budget. I still came back. I know what I gave to Liz 2 weeks ago and said, do what you way with my suggestions. And then at that time, I was thinking it was $208,000 we needed, not $172,000. So after that came back, I still went back to, originally I'd come up with $248,000 in reduction because I had not used Mr. Roberts' recommendation of the loader and a grader lease in the new hire. So this week I went back and I was still holding steadfast on the loader and the grader of $81,000, not entering a new lease because we own it. $38,000 for a new truck driver. Back to my other notes here real quick, so I'm not misspeaking. No, I got them here. The fire department had put in $34,149. Police department had put in $19,997. If we went with just those 3 departments, highway, police, and the fire department, that gives you a total of $173,146. I believe that's all we needed, correct?
Yeah, a little under that, actually.
That way there, no other departments would get hit that had the smaller departments. Welfare would not be jeopardized, nor would the hiking fund be jeopardized. Town clerk's office would not be jeopardized. The solid waste center that Mr. Simons put in, the $7,200 for transportation costs would not be jeopardized. Mr. Roberts did feel that the grader and loader could go another year, but we all have to remember, the loader and grader will come back up next year for a new lease. The police department, talking to the police chief at the time, he said, well, fuel got hit a little, but he said this year they didn't use that much fuel because of the pandemic. But he said he felt that he could do it on that, and the chief submitted his. I feel the chief felt confident doing what he does, and there was no wages touched in that. So that's what I'm recommending from the board, and that way there, everybody else's department stays good and tight. And I know that's not leaving up to department heads, but we're taking recommendations from the department heads, so it kind of is. But I'm saying that's where that money should come from, that's the way I feel. I don't know if the 4 of you have looked at it another way or not.
Police, fire, and highway. I've gone through it myself and looked at it in various ways, and I couldn't come up with a better solution myself as far as those 3.
My major concern was the staff's wages,
Right, and that was,
I went through with the year expenditures and went through every budget. Cut a little out of everything. I come up with the end thing was $174,000. It's up to board's wishes.
At least that's where I feel it should come from.
So this we have tonight.
Yeah,
This is the same thing you got last week.
Yeah, right.
right,
So
it's the same thing.
it's like, selectmen's wages. you basically cut that in half originally.
So originally I did, yes.
So now you're,
Well, I didn't originally. Originally it came from the town administrator and I agreed to it.
so now you're reinstating
Reinstating
that?
That would be reinstated along with, budget committee would be, everything in the administration department be reinstated. 5,000 above the selectmen wages. And it's not why I'm doing this. I looked at what departments could handle the most significant cuts. I went by what Mr. Roberts had originally proposed, which was the grader and loader, the new driver's position. That's what he originally proposed out of his budget. You all had a memorandum on it.
Yep.
Fire chief submitted his. This still allows the chief with his new position that he wanted, another full-timer, which I wasn't 100% in agreement with that, but I'm leaving it alone. It's just gonna come out of, most of it is coming out of his, wages, call wages, so he's not cutting anybody's pay. It's just that
Call wages.
it might have been more time in case he needed it. The rest was coming out of the police department. Those were the three major departments in the town that could absorb the hit, that would not financially offset any services to our community either.
See, that was my concern, is the other departments that were gonna suffer. And we're doing a lot of the things that normally that we need to do, like the cemetery, cemetery work and grounds and maintenance, things that we can't cut.
And we had already reduced, the way I looked at it, we'd already reduced the general assistance. We probably could have gone more, but one I was surprised with the hiking fund, how we could cut that back even though that's been funded.
Yeah.
We had that discussion before. We had to show the expense of it. I felt this way, buildings and grounds would not have to take a hit because they originally, on buildings and grounds, we were looking at a $6,200 reduction. And the last thing, we've all sat here and said, we need more maintenance done on our building. I didn't want to see them get hit any more than they were. Trash containers in the bay, Fenway trash containers, fence repair.
Take your year-end expenditures, and you go through, you don't have to zero them out, but you can take a little bit off of each one that still had money left or didn't get used. And you'll be surprised how much is in this budget with that.
Well, now, is that the one that was created on 121?
Yes,
Okay. The only thing
December 2020.
huh?
For December 2020, 121.
Your update here was 121? Okay.
Yep.
The only thing I would hesitate you on this, where there was monies left over, for some budgets over, there's just a lot of things that weren't done this year because of the pandemic.
Right.
A lot of things we did not do, we told everyone to put them off, so I wouldn't say that money would have actually been there if they'd been able to do the jobs that they wanted to do all year. Am I correct with that?
You are very correct, yes.
So, yeah, that's, the only reason I looked at what I did is because on the highway department, this is what Mr. Roberts recommended in his memorandum. The chief, both chiefs, fire and police, this is what they're recommending. Nobody else's budget gets touched.
Now, you're saying the administrative is out.
Administrative, we wouldn't,
I'd like to make
the only three departments you got is fire, police, and highway.
So
I'd
that's
also
the
like to
only
make-
three you're doing.
Those are the only three.
I'd still like to make a suggestion that the selectmen still cut it in half. Go back to the $7,685 cut.
I'd like to better that, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me?
Zero that line item. I ran for this selectman's job, not for the money.
Well, I think none of us ran for the money, because we did, you'd all look
But
like.
But there's
I still think we should cut
$15,000.
it.
I have no problem.
Cut it completely or cut it in half where it, like it was presented, either one.
Not a problem.
I'd rather that, cut it 100%, and then put it back into the police budget or the highway budget or
And
whatever.
then I would let the town administrator do what they want. Yes, ma'am.
You've already had one check cut out of that, so I wouldn't zero it out.
You'd have to put it to $1.
So you'll be in the.
We'll put it to one more.
I would leave it at $1. Selectmen's wages is $1.
Well, but you've already gotten a
I
check.
disagree with you.
Well, we were originally gonna take 2,000 from unanticipated expenses, so you could just take it out of that line down the road, correct?
Well, we could overexpend
Yeah, it's gonna be overexpended.
each line because it's a bottom line budget.
I'm giving you back just about everything in your department, okay? Or at least that's what I'm recommending.
Oh, no, I agree. I agree. And doing this with the departments, I think those are the three that can take the hit the most. Putting it back into the other departments, I think is essential. And as far as administration is concerned, like I said, I wanted to definitely be known that I think the selectmen's could be cut.
Basically, that would leave the
I agree with Bob.
selectmen's budget
Disagree.
7,000. So you're only gonna lose about 1,500 out of that line for this month, for 1 month? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, okay. All right. So I just need a motion, gentlemen, if you wanna go the way I presented it. If not, come up with your ideas.
No, I think, what you came up with is excellent myself.
What you came up with was better than what I could come up with. And reviewing it and going over it, I think it still makes the most sense.
It certainly makes more sense than 2% on everything. It just makes more sense this way.
And even nickel, it was difficult for us when we got together last week to come up with this because we felt like we had to nickel and dime everything and we were hurting a lot.
Trust me, I did it.
A lot of
Well,
I remember going.
I did the same thing. I did checks and balances on every single department and everything, and I couldn't come up with another solution than what he was
Yeah.
suggesting. I was trying to, and some of these departments really can't be cut,
That's, some of them
in
can,
my opinion.
but some of them can be. In an $8.2 million budget, if you can't find $200,000 of fluff in it, then there's something wrong. Everybody's gonna cry because they want their full budget. But sometimes you can't do it.
So gentlemen, basically, by putting our selectmen's wages down to $1, which will be overexpended anyway because one check has already gone out. Now roughly $14,000 that Laura, town administrator, can put back into the police and fire departments. I would allow that up to them,
He wants to send it back.
okay?
I changed my vote on the budget.
We'll work on this and we'll do what the board has.
Just need a consensus of that, you do
Yeah.
not need a motion, right?
No.
Consensus with the board is what I had proposed?
Yeah,
No.
This is what-
Yes.
yes.
That's not with the selectmen's cut.
That is what the selectmen's cut now, because that's what was just.
That's what we just discussed,
Oh,
yes.
okay, I just want to
With
make
the
sure.
selectmen's cut.
Yeah.
The selectmen's cut, I'll agree to that.
We'll redo a new chart for you, so you'll see clearly.
That's it.
Okay. Okay.
Just make it work.
Consensus? Yes?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
That's
No.
100%, right?
What?
Selectmen's 100%, right?
We get, Uno. Zilch.
Yes, okay, all right.
We already got one check, I guess.
We got one.
Like I said, that's why I asked you want it
If
back.
you want to donate it back to the surplus fund, you can. All right, you have the wishes of the board.
Thank
Less the selectmen's take out the selectmen's salaries, the grader and the loader, what the fire department had recommended, what the police department recommended. But it can be up to you now to put back in roughly $14,000 back in the police and fire. Mr.
Thank you.
McDonald, would you rather have a motion versus a census? Or you voted no?
Nope. Vote no.
You'll have another sheet exactly with that amount on it.
Through delivery session.
Correct?
Excuse me?
I was just asking Laura, if next week, we'll have an exact, new, updated copy.
Basically, you're kind of doing what you voted for. You're still getting your 2%. You're just not taking it out of every little department. Okay, budget discussion over. Drug and alcohol-free workplace policy, along with workers' compensation policy. I think the two can be tied in together. I've read them. I agree with them wholeheartedly. I don't have a problem. It's basically standard boilerplate policies, basically regulated by the state and the feds on drug and alcohol and plus workman's compensation.
They all refer to state regulations all through it.
The only thing I disagree is the way our state of New Hampshire treats employees now when they get hurt on the job and it's a major impact. Not do what they used to do years ago. And we've had a couple employees in our line that have gone through it and they kind of get cheated out of some things, I think. Especially when it's not their fault. It's negligence of other people. So gentlemen, I need a motion to approve the drug and alcohol-free workplace policy and workman's compensation policy as submitted.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
January 2021. Motion made by Paul Rochelle to approve the drug and alcohol-free workplace policy along with the workman's compensation policy as presented to us in January 2021. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Phil Whitman. Discussion. Hold the board, Mr. Holt.
Yes.
Mr. Whitman.
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Ms. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. The work,
Thank you.
the drug and alcohol-free workplace policy, workman's compensation policy passes. Gentlemen, don't forget, employee handbook. I am gonna ask you, do you want this on next week's, meeting, or would you wanna wait till the following Monday meeting after we get through deliberative session?
Delivered.
Yes, because there's a different one. What was the fourth one? There were.
The grievance.
The grievance policy would be this coming Monday, but we can wait until after deliberative as well for
Right.
that.
This one,
Push
sure.
everything else 1 week.
So we'll move on to selectmen's reports. Mr. Holt.
Nothing.
Mr. Rochelle. Mr. Whitman.
Nothing.
Mr. McDonald.
I will wait till non-pub.
Okay. Mr. Wentworth, at this time, I do not have one for you, which is unusual in the town administrator's report, which I believe she said she had nothing.
I have no report.
All right, gentlemen, moving on to approval of minutes, January 11th, 2021, regular meeting.
I move we accept, the minutes of, January 11, 2021.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Holt to approve the minutes of January 11th, 2021, regular meeting, second by Mr. Rochelle.
Do you have Rob?
Discussion? Being none, I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Holt? Yes. Ms. Wentworth, yes. Vote is affirmative. January 11th, 2021, non-public. To approve the minutes. Read at the last meeting. You've already voted not to divulge. Correct, Madam
Yes.
Administrator?
Yep.
So we don't have to go through that again.
Nope.
Make a motion to approve the January 11th, 2021 non-public session meeting minutes.
Second.
Made by Mr. Rochelle to approve the non-public session minutes of January 11th, 2021, second by Mr. Holt. Discussion. I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Yes, votes in affirmative. Moving on to, there is no consent agenda, gentlemen. Discretionary appointments. Brad Jones, road acceptance, High Point Drive. And the town administrator recommending 30 minutes. Their meeting, time needed with the board is 30 minutes is what they're requesting. This will not be a public hearing. This will just be a notice that they want to come before the town. Right.
I recommended 10 minutes. Yeah.
How do you gentlemen feel? Fine?
Yes.
And need a motion to approve Mr. Jones to come in about road acceptance of High Point Drive.
Make a motion that we allow Brad Jones in for, appointment for High Point Drive.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. McDonald to allow Brad Jones to come in for road acceptance for High Point Drive, second by Mr. Whitman. Discussion.
May I ask one question? Where's High Point Drive?
High Point Drive is up off Alton Mountain Road. Left-hand side,
Going up the long hill.
3/4 the way.
Oh, okay,
Way up on the left.
okay, I know where it is. Okay, thank you.
And can we get the planning board notes and stuff on this, so we have them when he comes in? Or are we gonna wait till public hearing for it?
Let's wait till public hearing, because we got to hold juror status. All he's doing is petitioning us to hold a public hearing. Is that correct, what he's asking?
He would like to discuss road acceptance for High Point Drive. That's right. He does want you to accept it, but the public hearing will be on a different, after.
Afterwards.
Yeah. That's
But
what
before,
Mary-
but before it can
Mary-
even come, we should have, before we even set the hearing, we will have to know if all the requirements have been met.
Right.
Right.
Planning board has signed off of everything.
So just so you know, the full packet was not put into your binder tonight. The full packet is about this thick with all of that. And we only decided to put this into it, because this is just to approve him.
Just to approve it.
Right, no, I'm just saying, when he comes in, if we can have that, like the engineering reports
You're
and
gonna have
stuff part.
Everything.
Well, what I feel, I don't even really need that. What I feel is as long as we have the recommendation of the highway agent, the town planner, and the code enforcement officer is all that I'm satisfied with.
Well,
Me too.
I can't really say it in open session.
Because if the planning board has signed off of it and has met all the criteria, we really can't
Right.
hold that up.
All of the criteria in the highway regs.
But we're told the planning board that Kenny can't inspect roads. He's not qualified to inspect them.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
Okay. All right, so we're allowing 10 minutes. Next week, Mr. Jones.
Okay.
Okay. I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, we need to go, we do have a non-public session tonight underneath RSA 91-A:3, paragraph 2, A, B, E.
Just say the alphabet.
Honest A.
A through C.
Do I have a motion?
Oh, I make a motion to go in non-public, what you read.
RSA 91-A:3, paragraph 2, A, B, E. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Rochelle. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Whitman?
Yes.
Donald?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy, yes. Gentlemen, I'm requesting a 5 to 10 minute recess. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, I think.
All we got.
Put that away.
So,
small?
We got small.
They're big again. With the planning board, with the pipe.
Evening, folks, we are back in public session, we left on public at 8:20. Gentlemen, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to not divulge the non-public session of 2 and 3, but to divulge number 1.
Second.
And 2 and B would be for the fact of affect adversely reputation of any person other than a member of this board, render opposed action ineffective. Second by Mr. Whitman. Any discussion? Poll the board, Ms. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Whitman.
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle.
Yes.
Mr. Holt.
Yes.
Ms. Wentworth, yes. Vote to the affirmative. Is there any other business to conduct tonight before we adjourn? Being none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn, folks, at 8:22.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Rochelle to adjourn 8:22, second by Mr. Whitman. Any discussion? We'll poll the board, Mr. Holt.
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle.
Yes.
Mr. Whitman.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Both affirmative. Folks, thank you. We will see you next Monday night at 6 p.m.
I'll be at,
What was your question, ma'am?
Wednesday night.